The Effortless Freedom of the Unbound Heart, Zhuangzi's Path to True Liberation. Let us begin with a fascinating story, one that serves as a mirror to our own lives, reflecting the invisible chains we often unknowingly carry. Through this tale, we will uncover the essence of true liberation and enlightenment, revealing how freedom lies not in the absence of constraints, but in the transcendence of them. If this resonates with you, please subscribe and click the bell icon for more inspiring content. The Processionary Caterpillars, a tale of blind obedience. In the vast theater of nature, there exists a peculiar little creature known as the processionary caterpillar. The French entomologist Jean-Henri Fabre devoted years to studying them, uncovering a tale both mesmerizing and tragic. The obedient marchers. From the moment they hatch, these caterpillars are not solitary wanderers but devoted followers. They move as one, forming long, disciplined processions. A leader takes the front, and each caterpillar presses its head firmly against the rear of the one ahead, inching forward in perfect unison. Some processions stretch to astonishing lengths, up to 600 caterpillars marching like a tiny living train. To ensure no one strays, they spin a delicate silk thread as they crawl, a lifeline that keeps them connected. When they reach food, they feast together, and when the meal is done, they fall back into formation, retracing their silk path home with unwavering precision. Fabre's experiments, breaking the chain. Intrigued by their relentless obedience, Fabre decided to put them to the test. First he removed the leader. Would the procession collapse? Not at all. The second caterpillar instinctively took over, and the march continued, unbroken and undeterred. Next he cut their silk trail, the very thread that guided them home. Chaos erupted for a moment. Caterpillars wavered, turning in confused circles. But soon the ones at the back began sniffing, searching desperately. The moment they detected the familiar scent of their lost companions, they reattached themselves, seamlessly reforming their procession. It was as if nothing had happened. The endless march. Then came Fabre's most astonishing experiment. He guided the caterpillars onto the rim of a large flower pot, where they formed a perfect circle. Without hesitation, they began to march along its edge, heads pressed against the ones ahead, spinning their silken thread as they moved. At first it seemed like a harmless detour. But hour after hour, the procession showed no sign of stopping. They circled the rim relentlessly, mindlessly following the same path. Night fell, then morning came. Still they marched. No food, no water, only the hypnotic rhythm of their tiny legs, one after another, in an endless loop. By the second day, exhaustion began to set in, yet the caterpillars remained in perfect formation, blindly chasing the one ahead. By the third day their movements slowed, but they pressed on. The fourth day, the fifth, a week passed. One by one they reached the brink of starvation and collapse. Finally, on the eighth day, a single caterpillar, too weak to continue, lost its grip and fell from the rim. At that moment the spell was broken. As if awakening from a trance, the others hesitated, then turned away from the edge at last, abandoning the futile march to return home. A cautionary tale. Fabre watched in wonder and sorrow. The experiment revealed something both fascinating and unsettling. These creatures, so disciplined and cooperative, could also be tragically trapped by their own instinct to follow. How often do we, as humans, find ourselves marching in endless circles, blindly following the paths laid before us, never questioning, never pausing to look up, until we are teetering on the edge of exhaustion? The processionary caterpillars offer a poignant reminder. True freedom often requires the courage to step out of line, to break away from the familiar, and to forge a new path untethered by the expectations of others. Breaking free, the path to true freedom. In the grand march of life, are we humans any different from Fabre's processionary caterpillars? We follow trends, get swept up in popular movements, and seek validation from the crowd. The fear of being left behind compels us to conform, whether in fashion, opinions, or ambitions. We attach ourselves to external crutches, wealth, status, technology, believing they will bring us happiness. Yet, just like the caterpillars circling the flower pot, we often find ourselves exhausted, trapped in an endless cycle, unable to step off the path we never questioned. But how can we truly live freely without dependence on external things? How can we move through life with ease, unburdened by the expectations of others? This question was explored over 2,000 years ago by Zhuangzi, the great Taoist sage, whose wisdom continues to illuminate the path toward inner liberation. 1. What is true freedom? Zhuangzi begins Xiao Yu, the free and easy wandering, with a grand vision. In the northern seas there is a fish called Kuan. It is so vast that no one can measure its size. This fish transforms into a great bird, the peng, whose wings stretch across the heavens. When the peng rises, it rides the wind for 90,000 miles, soaring to the farthest reaches of the sky. To many this seems like the ultimate state of freedom, a boundless flight beyond all limitations. But is the peng truly free? Zhuangzi challenges us to look deeper. The peng soars high, yet it relies on the wind. If the wind ceases, the peng cannot fly. If one depends on something external to move, is it truly freedom? 2. Beyond dependence, the true sage. Zhuangzi then speaks of Lizi, a legendary master who could ride the wind. He could travel effortlessly, carried by the invisible currents of nature. Yet even Lizi, Zhuangzi tells us, was still dependent on external forces. He was not yet truly free. Who, then, is truly free? Zhuangzi gives us a surprising answer. The perfect man has no self, the enlightened man has no merit, the sage has no name. True freedom is not about soaring like the peng or riding the wind like Lizi. It is about being unbound from the need for external validation, external support, and even external identity. It is not about achieving great things or being remembered. It is about a heart that remains untouched by the fluctuations of the world. 3. The skull's lament, the illusion of worldly desires. In another famous story, Zhuangzi encounters a skull lying in the wilderness. Struck by its lonely appearance, he asks the skull if it regrets death. To his surprise, the skull laughs and replies, "In death, I have no kings above me, no toil to burden me, no worries to weigh me down. Compared to the struggles of the living, this is true peace." Zhuangzi uses this shocking dialogue to awaken us to a deep truth. Much of what we chase in life, fame, fortune, control, is nothing more than burdens we place upon ourselves. We think they will bring us happiness, but often they only tighten our chains. 4. The useless tree, becoming like the Tao. In yet another parable, Zhuangzi describes a gnarled, twisted tree. Its wood is so knotted and warped that no carpenter finds it useful. Because of this, it is never cut down, never made into tools or furniture. It grows freely, unbothered, undisturbed. Because it is useless, it is able to live out its natural lifespan. The lesson here is subtle yet profound. In a world that constantly demands productivity, efficiency, and conformity, we often strive to be useful according to external standards. But true freedom comes when we let go of the need to prove our worth. Like the useless tree, we become truly at ease only when we stop measuring ourselves by others' expectations. 5. How do we attain this freedom today? In our modern world, people chase spiritual enlightenment through meditation, yoga, and self-improvement. But what is the true purpose of these practices? If one meditates to achieve enlightenment, is that not another external goal, another dependence? Zhuangzi's wisdom tells us, do not seek freedom outside. It is not in wealth, status, or approval. Do not seek freedom through external methods. True peace does not rely on special techniques or rituals. Freedom comes when we let go of self-imposed limitations, when we no longer chase or fear, but simply exist in harmony with the unfolding present. 6. Returning to the flow of the Tao. Zhuangzi's teachings are not about escaping society or rejecting the world. They are about living with ease within it, untangled, unburdened, moving effortlessly like a boat drifting along the current of a great river. The world may change, the winds may rise and fall, but one who is truly free is never disturbed. When we stop seeking validation, when we cease grasping for control, we discover that life itself is already flowing in perfect harmony. The mind, once clouded by desires, becomes clear. And in that clarity, we experience the deepest kind of joy, one that does not come from anything external but simply from being. This is the freedom Zhuangzi speaks of. Not the fleeting freedom of power or success, but the vast, effortless freedom of the open sky. Conclusion. Dare to step out of line. The story of the processionary caterpillars and the wisdom of Zhuangzi converge on a single truth. True freedom lies not in following the crowd or chasing external goals, but in daring to step out of line. It is about shedding the silk threads that bind us, whether they are societal expectations, material desires, or the need for validation, and embracing the boundless, effortless freedom of the unbound heart. In the end, liberation is not something to be achieved. It is something to be realized. It is the quiet understanding that we are already free, if only we have the courage to stop marching in circles and look up at the open sky. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you found our content valuable, kindly subscribe, click the bell icon, and share it with your friends. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave your message below.